What's up guys, and welcome back to another Flesh and Blood video. But this one isn't a new to Flesh and Blood video. This is, I'm not going to say advanced because I'm not an advanced player yet. However, it's looking at the pre-release, the Monarch pre-release that I played today, and breaking down my decisions kind of around my deck building, what I thought I'd done right, what I thought I'd done wrong, a kind of mini first impressions of Monarch as a set. So I've played 3 games now with the cards, and just talking through my thoughts of sealed Flesh and Blood. I've played lots of sealed Magic the Gathering in the past. Never played sealed Flesh and Blood. I've done some kind of like demo runs on TTS. Never done it in paper. Although today it was a resume event, I should say. But still, it's, you know what I mean. It's paper. I'm building stuff. Actually holding the beautiful cards in my hand, shall we say, rather than looking at them through digital PNGs. But anyway, the main focus today is going to be kind of just going through that order, basically talking about the basic rules of sealed Flesh and Blood in case people have never played it before, or people have played the game but have never played or don't know how sealed works in Flesh and Blood. We're then going to be looking at who I played. Spoiler alert, I played Chane, but talking about why I chose Chane and my thought process and like going into it around Chane. Then looking at the cards I pulled. I'm not going to go through every single card. I'm just going to kind of show off the rares and the Majestics I pulled, why that maybe influenced my decision to go down the Chane route, why maybe that was the right decision, potentially the wrong decision. Then we're going to look at my Chane deck, kind of break down not every single card in the deck and go through why I chose this, why I chose that. Key combos and key cards that I found in the deck that I think are really important, worked really well for me. Ones that I could maybe not so much change because my obviously resources are limited. It's a sealed event, but ones that I maybe didn't utilize as well as I possibly could have. And then just a couple of tips at the end of if you may be doing a pre-release yourself, or if you may be doing one with friends, some pre-release tips, some sealed tips that I wish I knew about the Monarch as a set, or that I wish I kind of utilized more about Monarch as a set going into the pre-release. So let's just kick off with the sealed rules. So I should say this event was hosted by Mana Gaming. That is my local LGS. There is a link to their website below. They're a really lovely family-run business, and I mean that. I'm not getting sponsored. I don't get any benefit from plugging these guys here. I've been going there for about 4 years now. Magic, Dragon Ball, Vanguard. Any card game I've played it there, and the guys are absolutely great. They do have a pre-order offer on the Monarch Unlimited boxes for 75 quid, which is pretty cheap in the UK. Link again in the description below. But that's enough I'm going to plug there. I'll talk about them more at the end. So Mana Game hosted the event. And I went into this event not knowing much about sealed Flesh and Blood. I've played lots of sealed events in the past, but never Flesh and Blood. So here's what kind of stood out to me. Straight away, you play a young hero, which means that your hero has 20 life. Every card you don't include in your deck is in your sideboard. So your deck is minimum of 30 cards. You can have, as far as I know, 55 cards in your deck if you wanted to, but 30 is the minimum to have in your deck. Tokens, you can proxy tokens. So let's say I wanted to play Levia, the Shadow Brute. I got all the cards for them, but I didn't get her weapon and I didn't get her as a hero. I can just literally use any token I want and say that's Levia, and that's Levia's, I want to say meat axe. I don't know the full name of the weapon. And that's her weapon there as well. And I can use that as there because it's a token, you can proxy it. Obviously, if you're using a shop in the ideal world, you would just swap it, I would say, to the person I was playing or another person there. I don't want to play Levia. Okay, I'll swap my Levia with my Bolton. You can play Bolton at the end, we'll trade back and things like that. That's how it always works in pre-releases, especially like lands when I've done Magic pre-releases. So yeah, you could proxy the tokens for the event. And then, so the sideboarding was really important because I didn't utilise that enough. That was one of my biggest mistakes with this event, was not utilising my sideboard enough. And that's probably me being victim of being a slightly new player, slightly naive going into it, in terms of how important that is as a mechanic, because Flesh and Blood is a best of one format. So that's why you basically reveal your champion or your hero, then you sideboard equipment and cards in your deck. As long as your deck is 30 or more cards, that's fine. You can sideboard away, which is really important in Monarch because there are a lot of cards that if I do damage to a light hero, give me +2 attack or go again. Or if I do damage to a shadow hero, +2 attack or go again. And that's really important because if I'm playing a shadow hero and I've got that in my deck, it's just it's a complete dud card. Well, it's not a dud because I can pitch it or I could block with it, but it's not getting its actual full flavoursome value that it's meant to be getting. So that's why sideboarding is very important, especially in Monarch as a set, because it is very much dark versus light, or light and shadow. So I played Chane. As I said, Chane was the hero I played. And honestly, going into this event, if someone had sat me down and said, Woody, tell me the order of champions you want to play in this pre-release event, Chane would have been in the bottom. I'm not even going to lie. Chane would have been in the bottom. No, nothing against Chane. Not saying they're a bad hero. Just my play style is not hugely how Chane plays. I've not played any Runeblade before this. I don't have much interest in Runeblade, to be honest. So Chane was one I just didn't. It's not I didn't want to play. I'm my least most interested. The order would have been I wanted to play Bolton the most, mainly because I felt a bit sorry for Bolton. You know, everyone was going on about Prism and Illusionist, and it does this and it does that. I was like, come on, my boy Bolton, the Light Warrior. There's another Light Hero coming in. People are just forgetting this guy. So I wanted to play Bolton. My Bolton cards are really bad, so I didn't play Bolton. I could have possibly played Prism based on my cards. There was a couple of things that pushed it at the end, but I could have maybe. Levia, I couldn't have played. I just did not have enough 6 power cards in there. That's important because the blood deck. There's a lot of blood deck cards in Levia, and it's kind of that risk and reward. You're spending these big cards, they do damage to you at the end unless you've banished something with 6 or more power. And I just didn't have the volume of 6 more power cards, and that's why I ended up falling on Chane in the end. But it was a lot of fun. Honestly, I really enjoyed Chane. The combo-centric deck going on there. It's pretty complex. There's lots of stuff you need to be thinking about well in advance. And it's also very punishing because of Chane's lead main ability. So if you don't know what Chane's main ability is, I'm going to read it from the card because I don't want to get any pronunciations or wording wrong from it. So once per turn, create a Soul Shackle token. Your next Runeblade or Shadow action card this turn gains Go Again and Go Again. So a Shackle token. A Soul Shackle token basically means at the start of your turn, you banish the top card from your deck, and these tick up and up and up. One round, I got to 6 tokens on there. Here's a really key, a key point to note with Chane. So if you don't know, there's no fatigue damage in Flesh and Blood. So let's say, for example, you've managed to deck out and you've got 4 cards in your hand. You can still tick his token up. You may as well tick his token up. Because remember, you draw at the end of your turn. If there's only 1 card left in your turn and you're going to banish it anyway, you might as well tick your token up to get the Go Again, because the card's going to get banished anyway. You're not going to get any fatigue damage for decking out, and you still get your card. And that Go Again may help you push or find something for lethal. So you can tick it up, and you can keep ticking those tokens over if you have no cards in your deck. And trust me, that happened to me almost on 2 occasions, actually. I managed to completely get through my deck with these tokens, but we'll get onto that more in a minute. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump across into the cards I pulled. I'm going to just show you my playmat with the cards. I kind of broke them down into the factions I pulled them in with the deck in the middle. I'm not going to go for every single card, but I'm going to just throw up a little infographic of the rares I pulled and the majestics, and then we're going to come back and start talking about the actual deck that I played. Okay, so we can see these are this is all the cards that I pulled. I'm not going to go through every single card because honestly I don't feel like that is needed, but you can kind of see the basic ratios of what cards I pulled. Not that is the most important thing, but at the top up here we've got the generics that I managed to pull. Here's the Light Illusionist. Then we have down the bottom here, we just got generic or not just general light attacks that can be played in Light Warrior or Light Illusionist. Then over here, we've got the Light Warrior decks. As I said, you can see they're pretty light on Light Warrior decks. It's why I just didn't play Bolton in the end. Then we've got Leviathan cards here. I actually have some really nice Leviathan cards, but the main one being that you probably can't see the numbers yet, but there are not many there that are over 6 attack power. And then we've got my just general Brute cards up here, and then this is a Shadow action card I didn't use. My tokens in the middle here. And then this is my deck that I did build in the middle. So initially, first looking on this, obviously you can't see the Chane cards because they're in the deck in the middle. But you can see Illusionist kind of outweighs everything else in terms of quantity of cards there. And that's kind of why I steered towards Illusionist at first. There are also some certain cards in Illusionist, like Merciful Retribution, which you can see up on the screen now, which really made me kind of steer towards the playing that as a set or playing that as a card, which whenever an aura or attack action card you control is destroyed, Deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. If it's a non-token light card, put it in the hero's soul, and it has Spectra as a keyword. Also, Herald of Triumph is a really cool card that I was tempted to build into as well, which is attack action cards have -1 attack while defending Herald of Triumph. If Herald of Triumph hits, put it into your hero's soul, and then it has the Phantasm, which is the keyword. If they block with anything with 6 more power, it instant destroys. So they were two kind of nice rares, especially the Merciful Retribution is a card that I was really interested in building into. However, I think my Chane cards just kind of trumped over the top of that. So overall, I was really happy with my pulls. In terms of foils, because I know people always like to know what foils you pull, my cold foils were the promo cards that we got sent as well. The Battlefield Blitz was a card that I got in rainbow foil. It's a rainbow foil. It's nothing special. It's a very nice rainbow foil. It has a nice little glimmer to the kind of beaming sword on top of it as well. And then I also was quite happy to pull the rare card over here, which is the Soul Harvest for Soul Harvest, which is the legendary Levia specialization. So you may only have one Soul Harvest in your deck. And that kind of steered me towards Levia, apart from the fact that I didn't have the attack cards to complement Levia. So that was my kind of whole collection of cards there. And I don't want to kind of spend too much on that screen because it's really hard for you to see them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw up onto the screen now all the rare cards that I pulled from this set. So kind of running through them in order as they are on the screen. Soul Harvest, which is a specialization of Levia. Battlefield Blitz, which you spoke about, I managed to pull in rare. Herald of Triumph, the Illumination card I was on about as well. Glisten, which is a light instant. Invigorating Light, another light instant. The Merciful Retribution, which was the aura that really pushed me towards building into into Prism. I didn't. Captain's Call. Now this card, guys, this card was incredibly strong for me. I cannot say it more than enough. This card, it seems so kind of basic. Just kind of like core text of it is pretty basic. However, in limited, this card is incredibly strong. The amount of times I could combo this with stuff in the Chane deck, and I was able to pull stuff from the graveyard, from the Banish Zone. Combining it with cards like Piercing Shadow Vise is absolutely crazy, which is a card that when you play it from if you deal arcade damage to the opponent this turn, it gains +2 anyway. You can play it from the Banish Zone as well. So like Piercing Shadow Veil, sometimes it's base 4 attack damage, plus the 2 from the Arcane, plus the 2 from the Captain's Call. Has potentially, like with that, I've been able to get like 8 damage with Runeblade. It's kind of nuts. Like it was not an easy combo to get off, but that's the kind of stuff I was able to do, like game after game with this card. Captain's Call is honestly one of the hidden heroes of my Chane list. The next one, Seek Horizon, was another card that in text, I like the idea of it. However, it didn't quite go the way I wanted to. The idea being that I could swing with it initially, put a card on top of my deck, get to go again, and then at the start of my next turn, the card that I'd put on top of my deck would have been a banish card, would have been a shadow card that could have been banished, and I could have maybe played it from my banish area and had the additional card draw. However, you're initially putting that card back onto your deck to get to go again, so you're kind of losing resources, although you are gaining resources in the long run. And that kind of plays into the blood deck, which isn't great in a Chane deck, but I'll get onto that as we go on further. Tremor of, I'm going to pronounce this horribly wrong, Irafiel was a card that is very good. Now, I had it in blue. However, the red would have been amazing. The blue is good, don't get me wrong. The blue is good, having the whole interaction with the Banish Zone, but the blue damage output was just too low. If I had the red here and had the additional damage output, that card would have been super spicy, and it honestly could have led to a lot more damage from my end. Consuming Aftermath was a really, really good card. And then Dimensional Gateway. My God, this card is amazing. The issue with the sealed format is I was running 1 copy of it. I need 3, probably 6 of these if I'm in the Blitz deck. 9 probably in a constructed deck. This card is crazy, crazy strong. Just pinging for arcane damage and opt-in. It's really, really good. So yeah, those are the rare cards I pulled. And I managed to pull a couple of spicy mythics as well. Now, my mythic pulls were definitely part of the reason why I built into Shadow, or more specifically Runeblade. So the first one, Guardian of the Shadow Realm. It's an action card. It's an action that costs 2 resources. Return Guardian of the Shadow Realm to your hand. Activate this ability only when a Guardian Shadow Realm is in your banished zone. It has Blood Debt, but it's a defense reaction. It's 2 costs to block the 6, which you can keep pulling back to your hand. So you can just constantly have this in your hand to block. Like, you're paying 2, but block, 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 block. This is huge. Now, it's important to note that it's 6 block. It's not 6 attack. So against Phantasm, it doesn't destroy those cards from Prism's cards. It just blocks pretty much all the damage coming through. Honestly, the Guardian of the Shadow Realm won me game 1. I'm not even kidding. The blocks it was putting in there it was huge, and it won me game 1. It was a very, very good card for me. Now, Dimensional Crossroads is an absolute bonkers card. I'm not even kidding. This card is crazy strong. So go again. Whenever you play an attack action card or non-attack action card from your banished zone, if you haven't played another card of that type this turn, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. So if you're playing 1 of each card each turn, that's 2 damage. Obviously in Sealed, I was lucky enough to pull 1. In Constructed, and we were going to be running 2 of these, maybe 3 of these. If you get 2 on the board, you're potentially doing 4 arcane damage just for playing your cards each turn. Just for playing your cards. Then obviously add on to the fact that you can potentially swing with your weapon and do arcane damage there. It can kind of get a little bit out of control. Dimensional Crossroads won me game 1. I'm going to be honest, I lost game 2 because I didn't find it sooner. By the time I had found it, I was fighting an uphill battle. And it done incredible damage game 3. Here's where I messed up with it game 3. You can see at the bottom, if you lose life during your turn, destroy Dimensional Crossroads. Where I messed up was I had the Guardian of the Shadow Realm in my banished zone, and it gave me blood. It had Blood Debt, so I took damage at the end of my turn. Because that's damage on my turn, it destroyed the Dimensional Crossroads. That was a mistake by me. That was a pure mistake by me. With Chane, you need to be able to get those cards out of your banish zone as quick as you possibly can, basically. Because with Levia, you have a way of banishing a 6 or more cost card, and that allows you to negate Blood Debt for that turn. Chane doesn't have that. So if you've got 4 cards in your Blood Debt, chances are you're not playing all 4 cards this one turn. So you're taking damage, basically, and you're going to be taking a tasty amount of damage. So you need to be very careful at managing, 1, how many Blood Debt cards are in your deck, and 2, how are you spending resources from your hand to get them out of your deck. It's all good, your Soul Shackle tokens, putting them in there, but if you can't get them out of there, they're going to kill you. And trust me, that happened to me. So overall, I was actually genuinely very happy with my deck, and I was pretty happy with the way it went. There's a couple of things I wanted to tweak here or there. So I did only go 1 for 2, where there was 3 games in the pre-release. I won 1, I lost 2. Both games I lost were to Prism, and I think I could have won those games had I made better decisions going into my deck building. Now, some kind of things I want to call out quickly are, one of the cards I want to jump to first is Seeds of Agony. Now, this card, guys, this card was, oh my god, it's such a good card. I read this card and I was like, how is this not rare text? How is this card not a rare? So, it costs 0 to play. You may play Seed of Agony from your banished zone. The next action card you play costs 2 or less this turn, gains, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero, go again. Now, that doesn't sound like much. You might think like, that's not much. Here's why it's strong. 1, it plays off Chane's ability, with the Soul Shackle tokens, banishing top card. So you have your 4 cards in hand, plus you can play Seeds of Agony for free from your banished zone. That's beneficial because it gets rid of the Blood Debt. And then obviously doing the arcane damage means that with the go again, plus where you then pop Chane's ability to play another card you then pop Chane's ability, to give the next shadow attack card or shadow action card go again, and then you can attack with a card like Piercing Shadow of Eyes, which card I mentioned earlier, which is if you have dealt arcane damage to your opposing hero this turn, Piercing Shadow of Eyes gains +2 attack. It can also be played from your banish zone. So you're playing Seeds of Agony. You can then do the Piercing Shadow Vise, and then the Shadow Vise, the stacking order, which I found out today, means that the arcane damage goes on top. That would attack before the base attack goes, meaning the base attack would buff to 6, base attack for 2. For 2 people, you're doing 6 base attack plus the arcane damage, 7 damage for 2 mana, and they can both be played from your banish zone. It's a really, really, really cool combo that works really, really well. Now, earlier I mentioned Captain's Call. Captain's Call is a card I actually comboed a couple of times with Spew Shadow. So I would often put Captain's Call into my arsenal at the end of the turn. You can see it's a 0-cost card. And your next attack action card that costs 2 or less this turn, you play this turn, gains +2. You then play Spew Shadow, which is not an attack action card. It's a shadow action. And then I could choose a card from my my banish zone. I could then play it with 1 that costs more. I would often choose a card like the Red Arcanic Crackle, which would do 3 base damage. So it's now coming out. It's now doing an additional 2 base damage because the Captain's Call, so it's swinging for 5. If it's attacking a light hero, it's now doing 7 base damage because of the Spew Shadow, plus Arcanic Crackle is reading that it deal 1 arcane damage to target hero, meaning that it's doing 8 damage potentially for 2 mana. 2 mana. So that's the kind of combos that you could build with Captain's Call. In Sealed, that's very, very strong. Is it going to be great in Constructed when there's other ways to build around it? Probably not, because you're going to be able to run more playsets of other cards. And going back to Seeds of Agony, Seeds of Agony is also a great card that works with Dimensional Crossroads. I mentioned Dimensional Crossroads earlier. Dimensional Crossroads is incredibly strong. Seeds of Agony is free to play, and that takes up your non-attack action. And then obviously if you attack with that as well, that's your 2 arcane damage coming from Dimensional Crossroads, which then leads your next attack card after Seeds of Agony is going to do arcane damage again. You're potentially doing 3 arcane damage with Dimensional Crossroads, Seeds of Agony into, well, any attack action card you have in hand, even your weapon attack maybe. Sorry, not your weapon attack, because Seeds of Agony only works on an attack action card. So ignore the fact that I even said weapon attack there. Now, when I said about the deck was I lost a Prism, here's where I made a couple of mistakes with my deck building. I had way too many blues in my deck. Way too many blues. So you can see I pulled the Shadow Runeblade, or the Runeblade equipment, the Ether Iron Wave, which is an action, destroy Ether Iron Wave, gain 2 resources. Activate this ability only when you have played an action, an attack action card, and a non-attack action card this turn, go again. Now, that was a great pull. However, I would often finish turns where I would have 1, maybe sometimes 2 resources just floating. And that was mainly because I had too many blue cards in my deck. Now, in basic rule of thumb, every additional resource point left floating at the end of your turn is potentially 1 damage point that you could have done additional if you could have spent that. Maybe even more. So it's kind of a little bit annoying to know that was the case. Now, I couldn't do much about it because the cards I had, they were just maybe blue heavy. For example, Bounding Demigod is a card that was really good. And if you've played a non-attack action card this turn, you may play Bounding Demigod from your banish zone. If you do, it gains +1. It's a free play. So again, we go back to the Seeds of Agony. I played Seeds of Agony. It's a non-attack action card. I then play Bounding Demigod. If I had the red version, it's attacking for 4 plus the 1 arcane damage of Seeds of Agony. And I've not spent any mana this turn. I know that's the same for blue in terms of you're not spending mana. However, the blue's only doing 1 attack or the 1 buff if it's coming from the banish zone. So that was one of the big things that jumped out to me as it went on. I was lacking raw damage output for the sealed event. That's kind of what was really lacking for me. Now, the other big thing why I lost to Prism quite a lot was I didn't tech in enough for the Phantasm keyword. Now, Phantasm keyword means if you block with any card that has 6 or more attack, it instantly destroys that attack card that has Phantasm printed on it. So if they attack with a card that's doing 7 damage, I can block for 2 block, but if my attack value is 6 or more, it just instantly destroys a card. Now, I had 2 cards in my deck that had more than 6 attack. I actually had a few more generics I didn't sideboard in. So this is one of my biggest tip for anyone playing pre-release is make sure you teching in, because Prism seems very strong, like very, very strong. And I feel like if I could have just stopped a couple of those attack actions, I could have easily come back and won. Because every game, so game 1, I won by 4 life. Game 2, I lost by 2 life. And game 3, I lost by 4 life. Game 2 was, I lost basically because they had, I can't remember the aura's name now, but when they do, when one of their spectral shields destroys, I take 1 damage. So I tried to do arcane damage. They blocked with a spectral shield by casting the instant, and then I just died because it popped there. It was a very good play by them. It was unfortunate for me, but that's just the way it was. So if you have the luxury, my 2 big tips, I suppose, from what I've learned from this pre-release, is if you have the luxury of building more aggressive with red or yellow cards, especially in Runeblade or in Chane, I would definitely recommend that to be the case, because the damage output is really, really important. For example, like I said, I never used Aether Iron Wave because I had resources left over. If you have the Aether Iron Wave, you don't need as many blue cards. You can get away with yellow cards quite easily as well. Remember, a lot of your stuff is quite cheap, and it comes from your Banish Zone as well. So that would be one of my biggest tips. Obviously, from what I saw from Prism, there were some cards there that were quite expensive, so maybe blue cards are beneficial there. I don't know much about Bolton, I'm going to be completely honest. I apologise for that. And Levia does have some more expensive cards as well, so maybe slightly more in the blue there. But definitely in Chane, I would say that if I could have swapped out maybe 3 of my blues for yellows, maybe a couple of reds, I felt like I had a lot more chance. And tech in the 6 attack cards to block against Prism, because Prism is very aggressive from what I found. They were always attacking for like 5 or 6 every turn, and they were just doing damage over the top. If I could just put 1 card out and just destroy the card, I'm very confident I could have come back and won. Definitely game 3. Game 2, I'm not too sure about, because the aura was wrecking me, where every time their spectral shield died, I was taking damage. That was wrecking me. So yeah, it was a really fun event. I have to say, it was a super fun event. I'm loving this game, Flesh and Blood. It's an incredibly, incredibly fun game. Playing it in a sealed format has only made me love the game even more. I'm super hyped for Monarch to be an actual kind of big thing now and actually be able to play the cards and paper. I'm really hyped for the 17th of May in the UK, because that's when local game shops can open again and we can get in there. I can get my cheese toasties from Manor Gaming, my ginger beers, and I can get to, I want to say wrecking people. I'm probably going to get wrecked, but hey, I've got a ginger beer and a toasty with me, so who cares? And once again, guys, a big thank you to Manor Gaming for hosting the event. I'm not just saying this because of my local game shop. Again, this video is not sponsored. They are a lovely, lovely family-run card game shop. They stock Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, you name it. They've got card games in there I've never even heard of. And I've heard of a lot of card games. I thoroughly recommend checking them out. They're really, really nice, and they've got some nice competitive prices. Link to their shop is in the description down below. And finally, if you guys want to learn Flesh and Blood, by all means, hit me up in Discord. The link to my Discord is down below. There's a slowly growing group of about 6 or 7 of us now in Discord that play. Some people play every night. Some people play a couple of times a week. We mainly play on Tabletop Simulator. We're hoping to get more into kind of webcam games as it goes on. But by all means, stop by there, jump in. If you want to learn it, I'm happy to take you through the ropes. Even by sharing my stream on Tabletop Simulator. And I just want to get people into this game. I'll be back soon with the next new to Flesh and Blood video, which is going to be going through basic gameplay stuff, and then we're going to go through class breakdowns and everything like that. But it's been wonderful, guys, talking to you about this pre-release. Hope you liked the video. And again, I've never done content for a paper card game, so please give me feedback on this down below. Like I mean that with utmost respect. Be as honest as you want. Please be as honest as you want. I really want to keep creating content for this game. I'm really enjoying Flesh and Blood. It's kind of grabbed me out of nowhere and just sucked me in, and I'm loving every second of it. So, yeah, take care, guys. Have a great day, morning, evening, whatever it is, wherever you guys are. Stay safe, and until next time, goodbye.